I'm Ari. I'm the co-founder of OpenOrigins. So what is OpenOrigins? Well, OpenOrigins is a trust layer for all media content online, so we can always distinguish between what is real and what is synthetic. So what's the problem we're trying to solve? Well, there's two main ones. One is fabricated content threatens our shared understanding of reality. When we see high-level examples of synthetic content reaching the media that are falsified, it leads to public distrust in all media content online, which is a huge problem. Already, there's 34 million synthetic images created each day, and 63% of those cannot be identified by the average human being. That's a huge problem. In fact, misinformation is the number one problem on Earth right now for society and for political interfaces. But it's also a huge problem for AI models. The need for high-quality human data to train AI models is extremely important, and scraping data becomes a lot harder when you're not sure what's synthetic and what's not online. So we're currently building we believe that there's only about 24 months before all content online is indistinguishable, which means we won't be able to tell what's truly synthetic and not. We believe that content provability is the only answer to this problem. Content provability is proving content at its origin point. So we can essentially prove that it's real when it's being captured. This is provenance. Provenance is vitally important through many industries. For AI companies, they need human data to train models. For news organizations, we need to be able to trust what's hitting an editor's desk, and we also need to be able to ensure that their archives are protected against synthetic and fake media. And for many other evidence-collecting specialties, so governments, insurance companies that need to do small claims fraud, proof of identity in financial services, provenance is a vital layer. So OpenOrigins believes that provenance, the only way we can actually deal with this problem effectively is a decentralized approach. Nobody can hold the keys to trust in our future. We need to ensure that everybody on the network has the same responsibility in creating trust online. We're essentially working on twofold right now. Securing the past, which is essentially looking at archives around the world, committing all of these to our blockchain, and ensuring that they are protected in an immutable format for the next generation. We're also securing the future, essentially ensuring that all content created now can be trusted in a synthetic world. So secure source is our first main technology. Secure source is a proof of authenticity at the point of capture. We essentially are compatible with iOS, Android, and DSLR cameras, and when you use one of our Lens SDKs, we can verify all the information coming through the lens, and we anchor that immediately to our blockchain, so we know that that information is secure. We also create a 3D map of every single image that's taken with our cameras, so you know that's a 3D object and not picture-of-picture, which is a huge problem within ongoing media space. Archive Anchor is essentially safeguarding archives. We create unique fingerprints for every single piece of content in a media archive, and then we anchor that all to our blockchain. We've already worked with the second largest media archive in the UK, committing their entire archive to blockchain. And the third is AI Marketplace. We're essentially helping these media companies take their immense amounts of archival data and license them responsibly to AI companies, ensuring that AI companies have a pathway to high-quality media data and ensuring that these media companies are getting fairly paid for the data that they have collected over the years. In all, we've created essentially a trust layer. So this is the OpenOrigins system in view, where secure source, we're able to ingest new content into our blockchain. Through Archive Anchor, we take historic content and ensure that it's safeguarded against future threats. And then the output is viewers have confidence in the data that they're seeing, knowing that it's human. And AI companies are able to source high-quality, human-proven data from leading news companies. So what have we done so far? Well, we've already secured 70 years of historical content, over 2 petabytes of leading news content in the UK. We've launched our AI training marketplace in collaboration with ITN, the second largest media company in the United Kingdom, and their content is now ready to be licensed. And we're working with leading news organizations right now covering elections, essentially bringing secure source technology to journalists on the ground so that they know what they are seeing is real. So that's us. We're building a global trust stamp for the internet, and we hope you come along with us.
Ari, thank you very much.
Hey, Ari, love the presentation, and I'm going to steal that phrase, content provenance. I think it's a great one. I have a question about, perhaps like that's a little bit more philosophical about what you intend to protect. And is there a distinction you draw between fact and opinion? Because one of the detriments I can see of a platform like this is you authenticating what is effectively opinion or perspective as ground truth and fact based on the stamp that you give it, if you get what I mean.
I totally get what you mean. So we're focused really on media, video, and photos. We're not focused on opinion so much. So the idea is if you are in a conflict zone right now, or you have a story to share, and you take your phone out and take a picture, we want to be able to send that to a media agency and for them to have all the information about it, where you were standing, at what time, the 3D maps so they can actually analyze the scenario. We want the individual sending that photo off to be able to give full context. That being said, the context around the photo, the opinion, is something we're not worried about. That's what journalists and around the world are extremely good at. They're able to discern between what is the real story and what is, in fact, just an opinion. So we're not focused on that element. We're focused on securing everything mathematically so that opinions can be made on top of it.
Thanks for the presentation. I think at scale, this is something that the world desperately needs. So I'm hoping you guys make it. I think the challenge that I'm curious about is along the way, there's going to be several gatekeepers that will determine whether or not this becomes the standard versus something else. So take at the camera capture level, you're doing it with your application, but most people would probably use the default app on iOS or Android. So you have to get past that gatekeeper. And then as the media is being distributed, if I want to then check the authenticity of it, it would probably need to be natively integrated into a social media network, a chat application, et cetera. Can you talk about how you think about tackling those challenges, how you can go to market and actually become the winning standard on the internet?
Totally. So our go-to-market strategy is pretty simple, and it focuses on this issue. One is we're looking at partnering with some of the best media and journalistic companies on Earth. So we've already partnered with ITN, and we're piloting with a few others that I can't mention publicly. But the idea of this is that we're bringing these tools to the hands of journalists first, and also the user-generated content that journalists are looking for. So getting their sources to use this, use our a secure source app. The reason we're focused on media archives is very similar. We want to have the largest content repository available on Earth. But there's two ways essentially we can prove the content on the back end. So one is through these media companies. So for example, with ITN, we're able to, since we're integrating into their backend, we're able to use them as one of the trust labels so people can refer back to their content. We also, the nice thing about how we've built this is we're using something called a perceptual hash, which means through our Chrome extension right now, if you find any image on the internet and you drop it in there and it's in our blockchain, we're able to find that even if it's been compressed, edited, or modified, which means we're able to source back to the original image without needing the metadata or any kind of context trail. So those are our two kind of initial approaches. And when we get enough clarity through these news organizations, we hope that we can push essentially out into a public-facing or consumer app.
Very timely solution. So can you talk about the scalability of your solution a little bit? Because you mentioned you serve media companies, but the fake videos and fake images often pass the fastest on social media by individuals. So your throughput has to be really, especially when your company becomes bigger, serving many companies. So can you speak to that? Because without that, probably will not be meaningful.
Yeah, so we're essentially built right now as a permissioned blockchain using our custom consensus algorithm. And the benefit of how we've built this is that it's extremely scalable. So we can scale to millions of gigabytes of data essentially per day, scaling through this in our current format. The other benefit of how we've designed our blockchain is that it, sorry, I've just lost my thought there. The other benefit of how we've designed our blockchain is essentially that not only is it scalable, but also it's a very, very limited, well, zero transaction fees currently, which means we're able to scale to essentially an internet level without having to incur massive costs on transaction, which is obviously a huge problem with a lot of blockchains right now. We plan on shifting towards a permissionless model that's designed logarithmically so it can scale as well. But that's something we're developing over the next year.
So I guess long run, what would be helpful is to understand how you're going to make this economically viable, right? So how is the economics of the network going to work? Or are you going to charge money to the different media companies? Like essentially, what's the business model behind it?
Yeah, so right now it's essentially a SaaS model. So media companies for the archive anchoring service are paying yearly for the service. So essentially maintenance and ingest of new content. For the secure sourcing app, a very similar model is in place. So it's pay by seat. For individuals. We plan on changing that model when we look towards a consumer-focused app. And for the AI marketplace, it's a revenue split with media companies. So we're essentially giving them transparency. In return, we're getting a cut of the revenue.
Ari, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Another round of applause for Ari.